What's going on, guys? Bengal again here doing another mock draft. We do these pretty frequently on the channel, and this is based off the Draft Network's current order, which is based on the current NFL standings. So we've done a lot of mock drafts on the channel already, and it's not even technically draft season yet, right? Even though it's always draft season for me as a Giants fan. We're going to be doing this mock draft centralized around the idea of what if Kayvon Thibodeaux doesn't go #1 overall? Because even though he's been the consensus #1 up to this point, I think there is a real conversation for Edge 1. Aiden Hutchinson has played amazingly this year. He's a really, really good player. And we're going to mix things up a little bit. We don't want everyone to feel the exact same. So we're going to be experimenting and playing around with the idea of Kayvon Thibodeaux not going #1 overall. There are some injury concerns with him. He's played through a lot of injuries this year. He's an exceptional player. It's not like Aiden Hutchinson doesn't have injury concerns either. He missed a full year, basically. So each guy, if you're going to talk about Thibodeaux or Hutchinson being in play for #1 overall, they have their downsides along with their great strengths, of course. Evan Neal, as this big, athletic, freak offensive tackle, probably in play at #1 as well in that case. But then when you talk about the Lions, you say, oh, maybe we like Taylor Decker, and we don't really want to get another tackle. We're comfortable with who we have. So I'm going to slide in Aiden Hutchinson at #1. I think it's in play. You know, keep him in state. I think that's a cool storyline there. I think that we do need to have a conversation about guys other than just Kayvon Thibodeaux, because even though I think he's the best player in the draft at this moment, that's not to say that other guys are not in the conversation and don't have a chance to go at that #1 overall pick. But I think with the Jets, that probably leaves them with Kayvon Thibodeaux, and they'd be very happy with that as well. So we're only minorly changing things here at 1 and 2. But I think, you know, Evan Neal would be in play at 2. I think Derek Stingley Jr. would be in play. Even Kyle Hamilton, although it feels a bit early for safety, he is a really, really, really good safety prospect. As we get to the Jags at 3, I think with the top 2 edge players off the board, this probably would have to be Evan Neal. He might not even be offensive tackle 1 in the class. Again, this is another really, really good tackle class where we have great edge talent, great tackle talent. The offensive line, the trenches in general, are really, really good for this class. D tackle is a little bit weak, but the trenches in general are great. You got a great center prospect. You have some great guards. You have some great tackles and potential guard/tackle players like Ekwonu and Darian Kennard and Kenyon Green. Who else do we have here that could potentially move over? Sean Ryan could be a guard. Thayer Munford plays guard actively. So there are a number of guys who could potentially move. Like Darian Kennard right now starts at right tackle for Kentucky. Kenyon Green has played all over this year with the exception of center. He's played every other position. So there are some guys that could move up quite a bit, but there, you know, are so many great players up front. We get to the Texans at 4. They could surprise us and go QB. QBs go early. It's just what happens. And they need to completely rebound and rebuild from the ground up. And starting with the quarterback is sometimes the way to do it, but it's not a particularly strong QB class, even though you have some high potential guys in Corral and in Willis. They're not polished players at the moment. I think with the Texans, you probably just opt to go best player available. And for me, that's going to be Derek Stingley Jr. As we get to the Giants at #5, it's got to be offensive line and it has to be edge. I think they'd be pretty disappointed that the top 2 edge rushers in the draft right now are off the board. I think George Karlaftis is certainly in play. I think David Ojabo is in play around the top 10 as well. You take a freak athlete who is continuing to get better the more he plays the game. You think he was born in Nigeria, moved to Scotland, and then moved to the US for high school, picked up football, and he was on the same high school team as Odafe Owe. Fun fact for you. But he's still learning the game. He's put up like 9 sacks this year. He's been incredibly productive. Obviously, you're going to be able to do that playing alongside Aiden Hutchinson or on the other side from him. But I think he's probably in play for top 10 pick when you talk about someone that's as freakishly athletic as he is. Like, Karlaftis is really strong, great hand placement, incredibly technically sound, decent athlete. I wouldn't say he's an amazing athlete. We'll see how he tests, but he's decent. I don't think he's quite as athletic as Hutch or Thibodeau or Ajabo, right? But he's a decent athlete for sure. I don't think wide receiver should be in play for the Giants. I'm really not sure why that's a top need for them. I would be shocked to see the Giants go receiver in round 1. You know, maybe round 2 or 3, we can talk about it. It's a deep receiver class, but not in the top 10. Certainly, I just don't think the Giants would opt to do that. I think for me, this is between Karlaftis, Ajabo, Ikem Ekwonu. I've talked a lot about. The Draft Network has finally moved him to tackle. I think he can play tackle. I've been saying it in all these videos. He made the move over from left guard. He's an incredible player. Charles Cross has really solidified his stock. Nicholas Petit-Frere moving over to left tackles had a really good year. It's a really, really good class up front. I think with the current board the way it is, the Giants would probably opt to go tackle here. I think I would prefer Ikem Ekwonu at this spot right now, just because I've watched more of him than Charles Cross. I really saw Cross play maybe 2 games this year. Watched him against Alabama. He was pretty good. They got pressure from the other side, but even like Will Anderson Jr., I remember having a pretty tough time with Charles Cross, and they opted to line him up on the other side a lot. I think I'm remembering that correctly. And I watched him against Vanderbilt. He was unbelievable. There are you know, a couple guys in play for this spot. I'm going to go with Ikem Ekwonu. I've just watched him play a ton this year. I think he's incredible. We knew he was a mauler. If you watched him play last year, incredible. I did some summer scouting on him. But then this year, making the transition to left tackle, he's been exceptional as a tackle. And you just didn't expect him to be able to pass block the way he has this year. He's been exceptional in pass pro. He's already a super strong guy. Grip strength is crazy. Love him as a player. So I'm going to take Ikem Ekwonu at number 5. Jets at number 6. Took Kayvon Thibodeau at 2 a little bit earlier. And I think we'd be okay with taking a tackle here. Now, who knows if, you know, if Mekhi Becton would move over. I don't think he would. So you're probably drafting for a right tackle. And we've talked about why that's kind of weird before. I think I'm going to mix things up here and go with Kyle Hamilton. Marcus May is in this constant stage of, is he going to be a Jet? Is he not? They franchise tagged him twice now, I believe, and he's still constantly, it feels like, getting into off the field trouble. Kyle Hamilton is a really, really good DB prospect. I don't even want to just call him a safety. Like, he's not going to play corner, but he's much better than your typical safety prospect because he's so big, so strong, so fast, so versatile. Versatile has kind of been that buzzword for the draft the past couple of years, but we have had a few players that can really do so many different things. Kyle Hamilton is certainly no different. And if we're playing to replace Marcus May, which I think is in play, unless you're going to franchise tag him again, you may not be getting him back. Yeah, this could be a corner. This could be a tackle, but I think Kyle Hamilton, I think that's like the perfect spot for him to go. As we get to the Giants at 7, I think I probably will go edge here. And I think I'm going to ride the hot hand, and I'm going to go David Ajabo. It might seem a little bit early for him right now going top 10, but I think his draft stock will continue to climb. I really, really do. He's someone that's only getting better technically. I talked about him a little bit earlier. He's got a killer spin move, and he's just a freak athlete, and that does play. So if you take, you know, a height, weight, speed freak athlete, and then continue to watch him get better technically each week as a pass rusher, it's really tough to not like that. I know it's inside the top 10. You guys probably haven't seen or heard that name be there a lot, but I really feel like there's potential for that to happen. As we get to the Eagles at 8, the first of their 3 projected first-round picks. One is conditional from the Colts. Carson Wentz has to play like 70% of snaps, and the Colts have to make the playoffs. Or 75% of snaps and not make the playoffs, something along those lines. But the Eagles' first pick is at number 8. Talked a lot about Jalen Hurts in the past. He's taken some strides, right? There's still a lot that he has to improve upon. His timing's pretty bad. His pocket awareness is not great. He has happy feet, and he really just is paranoid in there sometimes, right? but he's still a really young player. He's developing. Are you really going to find a better quarterback in this class that's going to give you better results than Jalen Hurts right now? Probably not. You need to be a run-focused team, and the Eagles are finding that, and they're scoring points right now. I don't think we have to go quarterback in the first round if we're Philadelphia. I think we can go for corner, and I'm going to take Andrew Booth Jr. I think he's CB2 in the class right now. I think he had potential to even rise up to CB1, and there still is potential, I guess, right? You know, we're getting into the very, very end of the college football regular season here, and Clemson has not put themselves in a position to play too much further past that. The thing is with Derek Stingley, he didn't play as great as you expected him to this year, and then he went down with injury, done for the year. So there was a window for some of these guys to step in and try and compete for CB1, and I don't think that window has closed necessarily. As we get into, you know, more of the off season and scouts and evaluators have more time to sit down and watch these guys, names are going to move up and down the board, but I think Booth could certainly be a top 10 pick. I loved watching him last year. He didn't play a ton, but you know, in certain bursts, he was an amazing player. The ball skills have been there in the past. Doesn't have a ton of production this year, so you kind of wonder what that's about. But we get to the Falcons at number 9. It's an interesting spot. It really is, because this could be where the first quarterback domino falls. And you know what? I think it probably does. I think it probably does. If there's a QB available at the back end of the top 10, and we haven't seen a QB go off the board yet, I think you're going to see the first QB go. If Atlanta's picking here, they need a quarterback to replace Matt Ryan long term. How about another Matt and go with Matt Corral? Corral has big time potential. We talked about his quick release, great arm talent overall, great athleticism. There's going to be teams that really value a lot of those traits, even if you do need to develop him as a real quarterback. Mental processing could take a step up. You know, pre-snap reads, diagnosing potential coverages could use some getting better as well. He really likes to stay on that one read. It's an Ole Miss quick hitter style offense, so you know it's understandable right now, but you're gonna have to develop them a little bit for sure. Washington football team at 10, probably a little bit upset that Corral and Kyle Hamilton are off the board at this spot. I think we could still go quarterback though, and it's all about, you know, who do you think is the best QB at this spot? We're gonna go Kenny Pickett, top 10. Feels a little bit early for him, but is he the best day one quarterback of all the 2021 or 2022 projected draft picks? Yeah, I think he is. I think he is. So in a weaker quarterback class, to see someone that's just real solid, really built up his draft stock a lot this past season in 2021, I think there's a chance he goes up higher than a lot of guys might think. Philadelphia at 11, took a corner with the first pick. I think, again, this is probably just best player available. And with George Karlaftis on the board, I think that's certainly in play. I still think receivers in play for them. We might see the first receiver go off the board here. I might opt to do that instead. In fact, I probably will. I love Garrett Wilson. I think he's receiver 1 in the class. I was on that from the offseason, right? And I guess even last year as well for projecting ahead to 2022. I think he's a really great player. The Eagles have kind of struggled to find their guys at that position. Devontae Smith, I think, can be the guy, but having another potential receiver 1 in that same offense is going to do wonders for Jalen Hurts, and especially someone like Wilson that has just supreme athleticism that can turn something short into a huge gain. Big time potential there, and I think we'd fit the Philadelphia offense pretty well. As we get to the Panthers at 12, I think this is going to be Charles Cross. I've done this a lot, I want to say. I just think it's a really, really great fit. I think it's a really great fit to protect your potential QB of the future. Quarterback, I think, also is in play. As we get to the Broncos at 13. Could go George Karlaftis here. I think I've done that before. I think I have. I like Karlaftis as a player. You're really trying to replace Von Miller, I guess, with this pick. If you go Karlaftis, I don't know. Quarterback you certainly need, but do they opt to go QB here? It's tough to say if they do or not. We've seen a little bit of a run on quarterbacks 2 in a row now. Do the Broncos opt to go QB here, take a shot at a guy? I think Malik Willis could be it. It's tough to say because his play has kind of dropped off a little bit, and he still has a long way to go as well. He's a high potential guy that is certainly not there yet at all. He's got worse processing probably than Matt Corral. Sometimes you just wonder, what is he doing? But the athleticism's there, the arm talent's there. There's a lot to work with. So what do you do if you're Denver? I think we take a shot at a quarterback. Let's go Malik Willis. I think Sam Howell would be in play too. Carson Strong, maybe Desmond Ridder in that conversation as well. I don't think I've put Ridder into the first round in any of these yet. Still don't know that I will do that. Dolphins at 14. This could be Karlaftis. I think we're going to go with the first linebacker off the board, though. Devin Lloyd has earned a lot of money. He's been so good at Utah this past year. Love Nakobe Dean. I think Brandon Smith is probably a first-round player, too. Christian Harris stock has kind of dropped off a little bit. But it's a decent linebacker class. It really is. I know the positional value isn't necessarily there. I think just for that, I'm going to go with George Karlaftis. Bit of a drop-off after him. I probably have Trayvon Walker as the next best edge. And then I like Jermaine Johnson quite a bit. It does depend on the scheme, too. I would probably have it based on the players remaining. I would probably have it Trayvon Walker, Jermaine Johnson, Drake Jackson. They're very close. I probably prefer Jermaine Johnson in a 4-3, Drake Jackson in a 3-4. But I think Johnson's athletic enough to play in a 3-4. And then maybe Logan Hall. I like Myjai Sanders. I think he's solid. I don't know what his long-term potential looks like compared to some of these other guys, but he's definitely really good. As we get to the Raiders at 15, I think Trayvon Walker's kind of a perfect fit for them there. If you have not watched Trayvon Walker play, and even if you've watched Georgia, his name probably hasn't really stood out to you. He is a 3-4 versatile player is what I would call him. I think he has the chops to play both 4-3 defensive end and 3-4 defensive end. He's big. He's about 275 pounds at 6'5" listed at. I almost wanted to say maybe he's even 6'6", but he's a huge guy. But what you probably won't notice about Trayvon Walker right away is that he is so amazing for his size at dropping back into coverage. So fluid. And you just don't see guys at his size that are able to move in the way that he can. And for a team like the Raiders that needs a little bit of help up front, I think a versatile guy like Trayvon Walker that can really do a number of different things for you, teams will certainly value, because you just don't get a player like him in terms of what he can actually do. There's not a lot of guys that can drop back into coverage, rush off the edge, rush from inside, and be successful in all three of those different things. So I think he's a name that's going to rise up over the course of draft season. As we get to the third of the Eagles picks, I've gone receiver and corner earlier. What do we want to do here? I have some options. It's amazing that linebacker is apparently so far down the needs for Philadelphia. I would put that significantly higher. Not to say that edge is not, but I think linebacker is certainly in play. And I mean, I made this whole case about Devin Lloyd just now. I think he's a great fit for Philadelphia. I really do. He can be your prototypical Mike linebacker. I also, based on what he's done at Utah and shown at Utah, I think he can play Will too. That can be a more natural fit. But I think he can play Mike linebacker, and Philly really, really badly needs that. So I think Devin Lloyd is a great spot here for Philly. First linebacker off the board at 16. I know like the value of linebacker isn't that highly considered nowadays, but a big time Mike linebacker can change a defense. I mean, we've seen it with a number of different teams over the years where they would not be nearly as good without their big time playmaker right in the heart of the defense there. As we get to the Browns at 17, a bunch of different options. I like Jordan Davis here. I like receiver here and maybe Chris Olave. And you can make an argument for some of the edge guys. I probably don't like them to take edge here. I think we go receiver. They need to be a lot better on offense. They just aren't scoring enough points. And this is a really, really good receiver class. I think based on the guys that could be in the first round conversation, right now, the way I see it, Olave, Burks, Dotson, Drake London, kind of weird with injury. Pickens is weird with injury. John Mechie's really solid. I think he's going to be just outside the first round or back into the first. David Bell is a really solid player. I don't think he goes first round. And then Jameson Williams, because of his big play potential, I do think could be a first round player. I really do. But I think it's got to be Chris Olave here. Keep him in state. I just went Treylon Burks at 18. Why did that double click? All right, got to restart this. It's double clicking for me. I'm not clicking twice. All right, now we're back to where we need to be. Who knew I was going to rage in a mock draft video? That's usually reserved for my Twitch channel. Twitch.tv/Bengal. Link is down in the description. I've been streaming pretty much every night, so maybe check that out. And I did something in this that I really wasn't like prepared to do, which was put multiple quarterbacks as high as I did. But quarterbacks just go early. I have my doubts about Malik Willis as a first rounder, but I have him at 13. Quarterback is a weird position, man. But we do get to the Steelers at 18, who need a quarterback. I mean, it's clearly not Big Ben anymore. He's probably going to retire. It's definitely not Mason Rudolph behind him. I don't know. I feel like it should be a quarterback, but the first three are off the board. Kind of weird. I think I almost want to go Sam Howell here. I like Howell. He's played pretty well this year. I think people have been down on him, but you got to remember, first of all, RPO style offense, a little bit weird. And he's lost a lot of his big time receiving threats from a year ago. De'Ami Brown, gone. Daz Newsome, gone. Lost both of his running backs. Michael Carter. Of course, probably even the better one at the moment, Javonte Williams, gone as well. Completely new offense, completely new guys. Like, yeah, the play is probably not going to look quite as good. But I like Sam Howell as a player here. I think we're going to go with him at 18. Then we get the Saints at number 19. I don't think they need to go quarterback. I kind of like Jameis Winston. He's not great. He's probably not the long-term answer. But I don't think you go quarterback based on the guys available right now. I still think you have to go receiver. I know, like, they probably won't, but they really should. They really should. And I like Jameson Williams here. I like Jahan Dotson here. I like someone that can potentially stretch the field for you, and those are the two best guys to do it. That's not to say that Treylon Burks isn't a better overall receiver, but drafting for the Saints, I've given them an Olave a lot, who I don't think is a receiver one. I think he's a really good player. I think he's a deep threat that works. Not on the board. Garrett Wilson, not on the board. You can't get any Ohio State guys. So what do? Maybe you draft a former Ohio State guy in Jameson Williams. I think I just talked myself into that. Fun little narrative there. But I think he can go first round. He's a big-time play waiting to happen anytime he touches the football. I think he's averaging well over 20 yards a catch, which sounds insane, but I think it's true. I love Jameson Williams as a player. And yeah, Ohio State transfer to Bama. I think he's played his way into the first round. And probably will only continue to do that with big performances in the college football playoff if and when Alabama makes it in, which I think Alabama does, but it's not a given. If they lose to Georgia by a decent bit, or if they lose any other games until the SEC championship, like, I know they probably crush Auburn, but maybe not. Maybe not in the Iron Bowl. You never know. The Iron Bowl is always weird. But the Vikings at 20, and I think they also have a losing streak at Jordan-Hare in Auburn, so you never know. Vikings at 20, though. I just don't know how you can take interior defensive line when you have Dalvin Tomlinson and you have Michael Pierce. I think it's got to be a corner. When I look at this team, I think it has to be. And there are still some good corners on the board. Kaiir Elam, Sauce Gardner, love Trent McDuffie. I really think the Vikings would too. We'll see if Mike Zimmer's sticking around. Trent McDuffie is an exceptional player, especially in run defense, but good zone corner as well. And Roger McCreary is incredible, can run down the field with anybody. He matches up really, really well. I think he's played the best of any corner in the SEC this year. And yes, that includes Derek Stingley Jr. That includes Kaiir Elam. Injuries have been a big part in that, obviously, but he has been incredible. I think he could potentially be a first-round pick as well, especially with how he'll test, which should be pretty good. I don't know if he runs 4.3s, but I think he's going to be in the 4.4 somewhere. Based on the way he sticks to receivers downfield, especially vertically, I think he's going to run pretty fast. What do the Vikings do at 20? I think I talked myself into a corner. I think I've talked myself into Roger McCreary, honestly. I think you're probably used to seeing Sauce Gardner and Kaiir Elam go a little bit ahead of them. But I like Roger McCreary a lot as a player. I'm going to stick him at 20. Buffalo at 21. I really don't think offensive line is a huge need for them. They just need guys to get healthy. It's not to say that they couldn't draft one, right? But I think we'll see what happens with Cody Ford long term. And I like John Feliciano as a starter. Maybe you could opt to take a center. I mean, we have Tyler Linderbaum still on the board. He would be a good fit for them. He really would be. But I'm not sure you'd be looking to move him to guard. You have Mitch Morse there already. I know Darrell Williams is the right guard right now, but I'm saying I don't know what you do with Cody Ford long term. I'm not sure you're pressed to take interior offensive line, and they just got destroyed by Jonathan Taylor. Not to be confused with Jonathan Taylor Thomas, Home Improvement. I'm going to go with IDL here, and there are two really good ones still on the board. I think Jordan Davis is more of that huge space-eating defensive tackle. Works out really well. He's a prototypical nose, and he's just going to eat blocks. Now, does that fit the Bills' defense? Kind of tough to say. They don't really utilize a nose tackle the way, you know, a 3-4 team would. But I think Jordan Davis is athletic enough to be able to fill in that role and do it at a high level. You're probably noticing DeMarvin Leal still available. I think he's a good player. I loved him coming into the year. Hasn't really played astoundingly well in 2021 like I think a lot of us expected, and to see him take a jump. It didn't really happen. He's probably going to go earlier than this, but in this instance, he does fall. I think I go with him at number 22 here, and it's to a team that could usually, or that could really need a player like him. He's not really a true IDL the way Jordan Davis is, right? He's kind of a versatile guy as well. He has some edge reps to him. If you watch him play at A&M, he plays on the edge somewhat consistently. He plays on the inside. He moves around a little bit. He's a really, really solid player. I could see him going a lot higher than this. I have not done a in-depth breakdown tape study on him this year. I haven't really done that for many players. I've only watched, a little bit. I have a game library where I'm a little bit limited in what I have access to for the All-22. And you don't really need All-22 for IDL, but it certainly helps, right? Leal's a good player. His stock has dropped a little bit, as far as I've heard, so we are going to move him down just a bit. But he goes to a team that really could use help stopping the run as well. And man, this is just like the perfect fit. Yeah, I feel like Tyler Linderbaum's going to go a little bit earlier than this, even though this is kind of where we see centers go usually. He's a really good center prospect. I think the Dolphins are certainly in play for him at 14. I went edge instead of offensive line. I think people are not going to like that, but it is a position of need for them as well. But Linderbaum falls all the way to 23 in this, and the Bengals could really use a center. Boom, there's your center. Bucs at 24. Yeah, their cornerback depth is lacking. They have 3 good corners, though. So it's hard for me to give them a corner at 24. I think we go in a different direction. I almost want to go linebacker. Now, I know, why would we go linebacker? We have Levante David. We have Devin White. Levante David is not going to play forever, right? He's into his 30s now. His contract is expiring within the next couple of years, and that's not to say that he doesn't re-sign, but he is getting older. You have to look to replace him at some point. Do you do it in this class? I don't know about that. I really don't think they need offensive line. I like their line quite a bit. Love Ali Marpet on the interior. They maybe have the best center in football in Ryan Jensen. And, Alex Kappa at right guard gets the job done. So I don't really think they need to go IOL. I think you probably look to take a receiver here and replace Chris Godwin, who may leave, Antonio Brown, and you have some really good options. Now, I think a really good complement to what you have in Mike Evans is Jahan Dotson. For the same reason we talked to Jameson Williams, big-time deep threat. Jahan Dotson has extremely impressive body control and an extremely large catch radius for someone his size. You wouldn't really expect it, as he's, 5'10", 5'11", but extremely large catch radius. Love Jahan Dotson as a player. Definitely could go first round. I like Treylon Burks too. I don't mistake it as me not liking him, because I have him falling a little bit here. I'm going to go Jahan Dotson though at 24. I think he fits the Bucs really, really well. Chiefs at 25. It's got to be defense for me. It's got to be. It really has to be. They don't get any pressure on the quarterback. I have to give him an edge. I'm going to go Jermaine Johnson. Really like him as a player. People have been on me about not putting JJ Enagbare in the first round. I do like him as a player. I just happen to like some of the other edge rushers more than him at the moment. So he might sneak into the first round in one of these, but he hasn't yet. I like Jermaine Johnson a lot. He has been the second best senior pass rusher, only behind Aiden Hutchinson this year. He's been awesome. I think he's played his way into the first round, and the Chiefs, they need pass rush. Jermaine Johnson is the pick. You can't have Chris Jones playing the edge when he's one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. Patriots at 26. It's corner, receiver. I like that those are the top two needs. They really do need that. Lost Stephon Gilmore. J.C. Jackson could be leaving. Haven't heard anything about a contract extension there. I could have missed it, I guess. Receiver, you just need receiver help. I mean, that's certainly the case as well. But I like the corners available, because you have guys that can play man, that are big bodies, that really fit the Patriots. The Patriots run like as much man as anybody, or at least historically have, right? I haven't seen the percentages or anything this year, but I got to go corner. And I think Kaiir Elam probably only drops this far because of injury concerns. He's a really good player. 27, got the Lions up again. Went Aiden Hutchinson at number 1. I'm not going quarterback the back end here. I'm probably going receiver, and Treylon Burks makes the most sense to me at this spot. He's available at 27. He has the potential to be a receiver 1. Love Treylon Burks as a player. He is big. He's strong. He is way faster than he looks. I don't understand it. It's just because he's so big. He doesn't look like he's going that fast, and then he runs by everybody. Burks is a really good player, and the Lions desperately need to bolster their receiving core. Maybe like Amon-Ra St. Brown long-term. Quintez Cephas is a guy. You have Josh Reynolds now. You cut Tyrell Williams. But is Josh Reynolds going to be it? Is Khalif Raymond going to be it? Not really. I like Treylon Burks there. Cowboys at 28. I've given them a safety a lot here. I really have. Could go edge. Maybe we get JJ Enagbare into the first round. There you go. Cowboys get their pass rusher, Kingsley JJ Enagbare out of South Carolina. Go Cox. And we get to the Ravens at 29. This could be back-to-back edge players. It really could be. I don't know. I do want to protect Lamar. And tackle has been a huge need. I'm going to go tackle. I'm going to go Trevor Penning. He's played incredibly well for Northern Iowa. You'd expect anyone from an FCS school to be playing incredibly well if they're going to be talked about as a first-round player. He could go a lot earlier than this. I think he's going to do really well in the Senior Bowl week as well. And the Ravens really need help at tackle after getting rid of Orlando Brown Jr. Ronnie Stanley has been devastated by injuries for the past couple of years in his career. Penning is really good, going to help out a lot. You can call him a swing tackle right away, but probably your starter at right tackle. Packers at 30. I always want to go receiver here. And I've gone linebacker before. It's got to be Nakobe Dean. Like, you can say the value isn't there at linebacker in round 1. This is pick number 30, and he's a difference maker. He is, the Bears' Roquan Smith. Now, I don't know that he's quite at that level, but that's the type of impact he has the potential to make. And he plays a similar game. I know both Georgia guys, both, potential inside linebackers that were probably more considered as weak side guys, Wills, before, moving over to Mike. But I think he can do it. He's rangy. He can cover. He's sticky in coverage. And he just flies around the field. Really good player. Could go earlier than this. Titans at 31. Do we go back-to-back linebackers? Let's do it. Brandon Smith. Another crazy good athlete. Linebackers are just different nowadays. There's no other way to say it. Linebackers in 2021 are just freak athletes, every one of them. Brandon Smith is certainly no different, and it's a big position of need for Tennessee. You've obviously had some injuries to that position. I do like Jayon Brown, but Brandon Smith would help out significantly, and you need guys that can stay on the field. And then wrapping things up, we have the Cardinals at 32. I don't know. I really, really like... I left a lot of offensive linemen on the board, which is not usually like me. By the way, have you seen some other classes? I go with a lot of offensive linemen. But not here. Because I left Kenyon Green. There's no way Kenyon Green lasts this long. He just won't. I mean, I could see Ahmad Gardner falling out of the first round, but I doubt it. A lot of really good players still available. I like Drake Jackson at this spot a lot, though. He's just too good of an athlete. I think he's going to end up going first round. Very interesting mock draft, because we left a lot of first-round players out of the first round. But Drake Jackson's really good. Really fits this attacking 3-4 defense pretty well. And that's the mock draft. Let me know what you think. Took some liberties here. Wanted to mix it up a little bit. Some players fell, some players rose, but that's the nature of the draft. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below, of course. And I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.
It's insane, I hit it at the park, Ben Bones. See me high step to the end zone. My life like a game, Nintendo. Playing with the best, let them know. Get off the track, the train's coming through. Yeah, promise you get in my way, then you best believe I'ma just run over you. Yeah, yeah. Papa turn, taking it back to the house. Defensive joke, I'm laughing so loud. Speedbird's good.